Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauer, zur 4. Saison der A1GP und wieder der Auftakt hier in Holland, in Zandvoort. Sie sehen schlechtes Wetter, hinten rechts die Nordsee, viel Wind und selbstverständlich an meiner Seite auch während der ganzen A1GP-Saison Sven Heidfels, Motorsport-Experte von Premiere, und wir blicken gemeinsam auf die Startaufstellung für dieses Sprintrennen. Sie wissen, zweigeteilt immer so ein Rennwochenende bei der A1, Sprint und Hauptrennen. Vorne auf der Pole mit den neuen Autos Blackemolen, der Lokalmatador, vor Neuseeland, Irland an 3 und Malaysia an 4. Die Schweizer Sechster mit Niljani, die Schweizer ja im vergangenen Jahr oder in der vergangenen Saison der Titelträger und damit Nachfolger von Team Deutschland, die hier beim Auftakt nicht mit dabei sind. Nur 17 Autos und das Ganze hat, Sven, seinen Grund.
Ja, in diesem Jahr sind Ferrari-Chassis am Start, genauso Ferrari-Motoren. Da hat sich einiges geändert, aber dazu noch später mehr im Hauptrennen, denn hier das Sprintrennen, da ging es wirklich heiß zur Sache. Und ja, da geht es auch schon los, Blackemolen an der Spitze.
Ja, die ersten Runden wurden hinterm Safety Car absolviert, um den Fahrern das Gefühl zu geben, an diese nasse Strecke hier, traditionell schon eigentlich fast schlechtes Wetter in den Dünen von Zandvoort. Nicht leicht für die Fahrer, sich an die Autos zu gewöhnen, hatten ja wenig Zeit mit den Fahrzeugen so ein bisschen Harmonie zu tanken. Gut besucht, trotz des schlechten Wetters. Natürlich die meisten der Fans Anhänger der Niederländer, logischerweise. Und damit drückten sie Jeroen Blackemolen die Daumen, dem ehemaligen DTM-Piloten.
Carroll dreht sich hier schon weg. Das ist jetzt der Start. Alle anderen passen gut auf, kommen da vorbei. Blackemolen also an der Spitze und man sieht diese Gicht gewaltig, außer Blackemolen hat da überhaupt keine klare Sicht.
Earl Bamber, das ist ein ganz junger Mann, der fährt für Neuseeland an Position 2.
18 Jahre, er ist alt und hier sieht man, wie leicht man sich verbremsen kann. Da bleiben die Reifen ganz leicht stehen. In diesem Jahr auch neue Reifen, Michelin Reifen, also da hat man auch einiges geändert über den Winter.
Sie sehen, was für ein Winter herrscht dort hinten an den Flaggen. 12 Runden sind noch zu fahren und hier nochmal dieser Ausrutscher von Adam Carroll, dem erfahrenen Iren, ja auch schon DTM gefahren und GP2, der sich da kurz bevor die Strecke freigegeben wird, rausdreht. Und hier nochmal der Rausrutscher vom Team Libanon.
Morat da zu spät auf der Bremse, muss dann direkt wieder ans Gas gehen. Monaco in diesem Jahr auch neu mit dabei. Piccione, der Einsatzpilot, auch früh schon draußen. Das ist die Spitze, da geht's heiß her. Blackemolen noch vorne, kriegt aber deutlich Druck von Neuseeland. Da sind wir mal zu Gast beim Niederländer, der die Strecke so kennt wie kein anderer. Viele Rennen hier absolviert. Ist der auch frisch gebackener Porsche Supercup Meister und hat an vielen anderen Rennen auch in dieser Saison teilgenommen.
Ja, und hätte wahrscheinlich nicht gedacht, dass der junge Earl Bamber aus Neuseeland hinter ihm so viel Druck, so viel Gas gibt. Mittlerweile das Auto von Adam Carroll geborgen an der Box. Da wird noch ein bisschen rumgeschraubt. 11 Runden noch zu fahren. Die nächsten, die draußen sind, John Martin, der Australier, und auch ein neuer Fahrer aus Südkorea.
Ja, viele neue Fahrer mit dabei. Einige werden ja noch folgen. Tschechien fehlt zum Beispiel. Die werden auch beim nächsten Rennen nicht teilnehmen. Einige Teams wie Schweiz zum Beispiel, die haben das Auto erst vor 48 Stunden ausgeliefert bekommen. Riesenlob auch an die Schweiz, dass das überhaupt fertig geworden ist. Niljani, der amtierende Meister, dass der hier mitfahren kann. Und die Teams, die nicht mit am Start sind, da hat man die Regeln geändert. Es gibt ein Streichresultat, also die haben keinen großen Nachteil. Hier nochmal diese Szene, da konnte Australien nichts dafür, wird da abgeschossen, abgeräumt, aber unter diesen Bedingungen passiert das relativ einfach.
Chin Wo Wang heißt der Fahrer von Südkorea. Wir machen einen Sprung, 9 Runden noch zu fahren. Sie sehen diese Anblendungen, Gangschaltung und dann natürlich wie viel Gas, wie viel Bremse und wie viel Stundenkilometer momentan auf der Tachonadel sind. Das sind die Franzosen, die wir da kurz gesehen haben mit Luc Duval, der ja auch schon im vergangenen Jahr im A1-Auto saß. Gelb, Farius Fauci für Malaysia, der sich bisschen hat zurückfallen lassen, und das ist Ho Pin Tung, der Chinese, der uns da diese Aufnahme liefert. Der war zu diesem Zeitpunkt ja doch einer der schnellsten. Fährt vorbei an Italien, pflügt sich von hinten durchs Feld und apropos Pflügen, Earl Bamber näher rangekommen an Blackemolen, greift ihn sogar an.
Ja. Das hat halt auch einen Grund, denn es ist mehr Regen als am Anfang und Blackemolen, der scheint eine andere Abstimmung zu haben. Hat hier mächtig Druck, kann sich da noch wehren, aber jetzt Bamba daneben, beide leicht im Gras. Blekemolen ein wenig mehr, dadurch Bamba mehr Schwung und zieht hier vorbei.
Und übernimmt die Führung für Neuseeland. Neue Reihenfolge also unter dem Jubel natürlich am Kommandostand der Schwarzen. Neuseeland in Führung vor den Niederlanden und dann die Schweiz mit Neil Gianni, der sich also auch bei diesen schwierigen Bedingungen nach vorne gekämpft hat.
Aber wir müssen auf das gelbe Auto achten. Hier nochmal die Wiederholung, das ist vor der Schikane, da ist Blekemolen noch vorne. Das schwarze Auto Neuseeland später auf der Bremse. Hier hat Blekemolen einen leichten Quersteher hinten, muss die Lenkung aufmachen durch den Dreck. Neuseeland mit mehr Schwung, geht vorbei. Also zurück zum gelben Auto, der ist gut unterwegs. Fauci, gute Rundzeiten, mächtig auf dem Vormarsch. Da hinten taucht er schon auf, ist an Blekemolen fast dran.
Ja, wir haben einen Sprung gemacht, 7 Runden sind es noch in der Zwischenzeit. Fauci vorbei an Gianni und auch vorbei an Blekemolen. Also Fauci, der 25-Jährige, mit einem richtig schnellen Speed momentan, hat nämlich kurz danach auch den führenden Mann überholen können, Earl Bamber im schwarzen Auto. Damit also neue Reihenfolge. Hier Malaysia in Gelb vor Neuseeland und dann die Niederlande mit Blekemolen. Das zu diesem Zeitpunkt 6 Runden vor dem Ende.
Ja, Fauci konnte noch kein Rennen in der A1GP gewinnen. Wäre auch der erste Sieg mit Ferrari. Ein Sieg für die Ewigkeit, für die Geschichtsbücher. Das ist ganz toll, aber Fauci, der kommt gut zurecht mit diesem Auto. Hat ja schon den alten Senna-Rekord in Donington gebrochen, da hat man getestet, aber da waren nur 6 Autos an dem Start und ja, die Freude bei Malaysia, die ist zu Recht sehr, sehr groß.
Da haben wir den Chinesen Ho Pei-tung. Wie gesagt, schnell war er unterwegs, ein bisschen zu schnell, denn da hat er es übertrieben, als es auf Start und Ziel ging. Der Einschlag einigermaßen zu verkraften. Da sehen wir es nochmal on board. Da hat er wenig Chancen, das Auto in irgendeiner Art und Weise noch auf der Strecke zu halten und somit seine Position, die zu diesem Zeitpunkt die 5. war, ja, zu festigen. Und die Niederlande mit Blekemolen bekommt Druck. Direkt dahinter die Schweiz, Position 4 und 5, denn in der Zwischenzeit Frankreich vorbeigefahren an den Niederlanden, also Reihenfolge Malaysia, Neuseeland und Frankreich.
Gelbe Flaggen jetzt hier, darf man nicht überholen, da steht ja noch ein Auto und auch auf der Strecke sonst viele, viele Autos, die da kreuz und quer stehen, das beobachtet die Rennleitung in diesem Moment. Der Regen wird mehr, also ganz schwierig, das Auto jetzt noch auf der Strecke zu halten momentan.
Ja, vor allem, wenn man bedenkt, dass die Fahrer ja noch nicht so viel Zeit hatten, sich an das neue Chassis, an den neuen Motor, an alles drumherum und die Reifen zu gewöhnen. Nach 3 Jahren Lola und Zytek, also jetzt Ferrari bei der A1GP mit dabei. Sie sehen es oben eingeblendet. Die Rennleitung hatte sich dann entschlossen, das Rennen zu beenden, abzubrechen und deswegen verständlicherweise auch groß die Freude bei Team Malaysia, denn Farius Fauci wird damit also, nachdem hier rot geschwenkt wird, als Sieger dieses ersten Rennens der Saison 2008-2009 der A1GP gewertet. An 2, und das ist ein tolles Ergebnis, Earl Bamber für Neuseeland und an 3 Luc Duval für die Franzosen.
Ja, Duval ganz stark, kam nur von 11 auf 3 vorgefahren. Der wird uns dann gleich im Hauptrennen wie alle anderen eine Menge Freude machen.
Das also das Ergebnis. Bis Position 8 gibt es Punkte. Charlie Kimball also für die Amerikaner der Letzte, der da noch was holt. Und das also das Ergebnis des ersten Sprintrennens hier in der A1GP.
Slowly and gradually, I'm sure they'll catch up with what everyone else is doing.
Well, that's all you can expect here this weekend. I mean, the most testing of conditions. I mean, very little time for anybody with the car. And just to jump
Die Vorbereitungen laufen, liebe Zuschauer, jetzt dann auf das Hauptrennen, auf das wir uns freuen. 70 Minuten wird es dauern und Sie sehen, es regnet nach wie vor. Das sind die Live-Bilder und gleich geht's los mit dem Hauptrennen der A1 hier.
That's the plan. Stay on track. That's what they'll all be trying to do here today.
Vierte Saison der A1GP und viele hatten gar nicht gedacht, dass sie so lange existieren würde. Ganz zu Beginn, als Scheich Maktoum diesen Weltcup des Motorsports ins Leben gerufen hat. Wir sind in Zandvoort, wir warten aufs Hauptrennen und mit uns wartet Ihr Motorsport-Experte Sven Heidfeld. Sven, es sind nicht alle Autos ausgeliefert worden rechtzeitig. Sie haben es vielleicht mitbekommen. Man hat umgewechselt von Lola auf Ferrari, die Motoren auch. Wir gucken nochmal auf die Startaufstellung. Auch da deutlich zu erkennen, dass sich alle Nationen hier beim Auftakt in Zandvoort mit an den Starts gegangen sind. Man hat eigentlich andere Regularien sich vorgenommen für diese
young teenager from New Zealand, Earl Bamber, guiding the Black Beauty. On the second row, the experienced Loic Duval, and lots of experience too from Jeroen Bleekemolen. Neil Yarni's in there behind them. So's Adrian Zaub with Italy and USA. Charlie Kimball driving the American car. Portugal and Lebanon next up, followed by Australia and China. Watch out for China, fast in the first race. Brazil and Indonesia, Ireland and Monaco. They're back on row 8, and Korea brings up the back of the grid. Ireland therefore with lots to do, John, but as we've said, Adam Carroll is a potential winner, and we'll have to see what he does. So it's time to get everything underway with some of the ceremonial part of the start of A1 races.
Drie minuten te gaan.
Wilhelmus van Nassau ben ik van Duitsen bloed. Mijn vaderland getrouw blijf ik tot in den dood. Een prinsen van Oranje ben ik vrij onverweerd. De koning van Spanje heb ik altijd geëerd.
So Dutch duo Nick and Simon singing the national anthem, and the orange flags are flying as ever here. Lots of orange, supporting their orange car. Well, I wonder if Jeroen Bleekemolen's going to be able to get a podium finish starting from fourth, perhaps even go for that victory. It's been a while since the Dutch team won a race, there's no doubt about that. And of course, Bleekemolen himself was the last man to win for the Dutch team. That was in Beijing, when Jos Verstappen had that one victory in the first season of A1GP, but well, they'd love to add to that tally here today.
Well, I think there'll be a little bit of crossover of information amongst all the teams, particularly as this is the first round with a brand new car, brand new tyres, brand new engine, and the fact that Carlos Fauzi was able to find tyre temperature with the Malaysian car, I'm sure that information will be shared through the pit lane. But of course, you've got to get the tyre temperature in the first place.
Autosportliefhebbers, ik vind het fantastisch dat jullie hier zijn. Hartstikke goed. Wij gaan genieten van een hele mooie race. En daarom zeg ik nu, gentlemen, for the pride of your nations, start your engines.
And the engines fire up those Ferrari power plants into action. And it's all a question of now trying to guide that 600 brake horsepower smoothly onto a very, very wet Zandvoort circuit. Now remember, we are starting behind the safety car, and as in the sprint race, as soon as they take off by the safety car, the laps actually begin to tick away, the clock begins to tick. The race effectively does begin, but they're not allowed to overtake each other. They have to retain grid formation.
Yes, so the safety car at the field, ahead of the field, and very shortly it will be moving off. And they will then fall in line behind that safety car. When the safety car puts the light shut, peels off, then the racing will get underway, but you're not allowed to pass until you go past where the start line gantry is.
Everybody out there will be looking to see where the worst of the standing water is, trying to pick a line that might work once the safety car releases them. Away we go then, once again, the race starts under safety car, and the guys all just launching themselves off the line, getting a bit of a field, trying to get some heat into these wet tyres. That is the challenge, particularly when you're going this slowly. You can't really develop any meaningful heat.
No, you won't, and all you'll do is sit behind the safety car. And I mean, the pace, even a high-performance car like the Ferrari 599 Berlinetta, the pace it will take the cars out is so far below the natural racing pace of these cars. That's what caught Adam Carroll out in the sprint race. He tried to begin a manoeuvre on the New Zealand car, and he just didn't have the temperature in the tyres. And once you break traction, break grip, then the car will just, it's just momentum is going to take the car around.
2 pit stops, as you saw, the pit windows from lap 8 to 16, and then from laps 26 to 34. But brand new cars, new equipment in terms of changing wheels as well. So the teams haven't had much chance to practice their pit stops, and that's going to be a very key part of what happens in this race, much like it was in the first season of A1GP, where often it was the wheel changes that determined the result.
Yes, I mean, watching some of the teams, they were practicing this morning when they were making those pit stops, and just simply the guys that are carrying the wheels and the air guns, the pit lane itself is quite slippery, and that's another factor to factor in. It'll take a lot of care coming into the pit lane, not to come in that little bit too quickly and then lock a brake and run into potentially some of your team members. And also for the team members, when they're running around the car, they don't have the same level of grip that they have in the drive when they're doing it in the wet.
Absolutely right. Just ticking the cars off as they go around the track. We are missing Brazil, and I did think that was likely that Brazil were not going to be able to make the start of this race. I don't think we'll see them starting from the pit lane either. That accident that they had earlier, I think it was a pretty big impact.
Yeah, I mean, the hit on the left-hand side of the corner, that was at the top of turn 7, and there's a big impact, and then you can see the car just was deflected straight across the racetrack and ended up on the inside of turn 8, somewhat 200 meters from the point of the initial accident. So clearly more damage than was first thought to the Brazilian car.
Great shame, but all the other cars that were damaged earlier on are back out, I'm pleased to say. So Monaco on circuit, but starting down in 15th, Ireland down in 14th place. China, it turned out they'd only damaged the rear wing end plate after that fairly dramatic spin onto the start-finish straight.
Well, that actually was a pretty good result, because spinning coming off turn 16 inevitably results in you going across track and having heavy contact with the barrier on the inside of the corner. So for Hu Ping-tung, that was a pretty good result. I mean, only if he'd done it one lap later, then he could have actually found himself classified up in probably 6th place.
That's right, so it's good news that they've got their car back out. The Indonesia car's running fine, and everybody else is getting ready to go. You can see the anxiety, the nervousness that's down there in the pits, because it is such an unpredictable race in these kind of conditions. I mean, everybody knows, yeah, fingers crossed for Malaysia. They might have taken the win earlier on, and I know that something, you know, another solid point-scoring result is all they're after. They're not being too greedy, but even that, it's not a given.
No, I mean, I saw Neil Yarney after the sprint race this morning, and I asked him what was visibility like, and he said coming down the main straight, if you're running close to another car, it's virtually zero going straight ahead. You've got to use your peripheral vision to pick up something that you remember. Well, that's 150 meters, or that's 200 meters. And I mean, in these opening laps, great care is going to be needed. We don't need to see another situation like Lebanon and Daniel Murad taking a lunge down the inside and just getting it wrong, and potentially getting away with it one time. Anybody else may not be quite so lucky if they were so in that position.
So Faraz Fawzi, he is renowned for his abilities in the wet weather, and working with new engineer Alan Mugglestone, they really came up with a fantastic setup for that sprint race, and you can look into his eyes as well. They've got the clear visors. Some actually are running the yellow visors to try and increase the contrast, but great view of Faraz Fawzi as he searches around looking for where there might be grip and where to avoid the puddles.
Yeah, so they're just coming through turn 10, and we know on the outside to the right of the picture that earlier in the morning in a support race got covered in oil, and that's what took out a number of the cars later in the sprint race. So even the Malaysian crew very apprehensive, waiting for the start of this race, waiting for the lights and the safety car to go out. Still on as we come just about halfway around the lap, out of turn 11, making the way through the curve that is turn 12, and then the drop down into the downhill braking zone into turns 13 and 14. This is where we saw that wonderful attempt and then success by young Earl Bamber for New Zealand, and the much more experienced Jerome Blekemolen, lights out.
Yeah, lights are off on the safety car, and that means they will be going racing when they come around the final couple of turns. They're heading up towards that area now. Fauzi getting a little bit of wheel spin on purpose, trying to get those tyres up to temperature. What's the third car in the line? That's Team France. He was fastest in the sprint race, but he started back in 11th, so he had to work his way forwards. He could be a major threat. Coming through Ari Lyondike curve now, building up some speed, and they will come out of the final turn and start the feature race here at Zandvoort in pretty wet conditions. Just look at the spray, but we're racing, and it's Malaysia that leads, and New Zealand immediately having to defend to the inside as France taking a little look down there, but deciding to come out of it and follow New Zealand through the first turn.
Fortunately, the line of cars sufficiently spread out to not have too much trouble into turn one. Everybody seemingly getting down into the braking zone and around the tyres on Herpen. Oh, and a wobble, a big wobble for Netherlands going into turn 3.
That's how treacherous the conditions are, and it's Jeroen Blekemolen looking for some grip as he comes through Hugenholtz. That's at the back of the paddock area. Now they accelerate out through these sweeping corners and trying to make a move there. USA, by the looks of things, Charlie Kimball, but New Zealand sitting in second place and under pressure from France, there's no doubt about it. But just look at that spray.
I mean, those are diabolical conditions. You can see from the camera, and the camera highlights the level of light that you've got, but what it doesn't do is tell you what it's like sitting in a car. Look right under the rear wing of the New Zealand car. Team France almost having to pull out to the left to avoid contact under braking into turn 9, but now coming up the inside. Can he get it done? He tried to do this with Switzerland earlier in the sprint race, but no way from Earl Bamber.
Did you see the puddle the French car went through? It absolutely threw the water up, and Duval really lost some time as a result.
Got a yellow flag out at turn 6 it is. So somebody may have gone off at turn 6 on the way out into the country.
So Duval lost time as a result of that. Look at them power boating their way around this track. Blekemolen now into, well, yeah, I'd say the slipstream, but it's just into a water shower more than anything else. Switzerland following, then South Africa behind, then Italy, and then Lebanon chasing. Portugal in the green and red colours. China followed through. Ireland there has got past Australia and gained some places. Monaco coming through, and then the others towards the back with Korea there. Just taking a look back. What can we find in the gloom here?
Oh, there we are, Team USA. Charlie Kimball up that, in fact, is up at turn 9, so he managed to spin the car for the USA. The entire field comes by. He's looking into their eyes. They're looking into his. He's got to wait. And Michael Andretti, well, that'll be disappointment for Michael, waiting in the pits to see maybe something a little bit better than the 8th place finish that they got in the sprint race.
I think France has got past New Zealand. Yes, France has taken second place now. So up into second place, Loic Duval. Now, can he go chasing after Malaysia? We saw how quick he was. Ireland, meanwhile, trying to get past China. Adam Carroll in the Irish car on the inside. The green colour scheme shining through this murk. Oh, and Hopin Tung's lost in it for the second time today.
And that's something, again, turn 3, and just illustrates how slippery it is. Didn't appear to do anything wrong, but just going into the corner, turning the wheel, probably still on the brakes, and the imbalance in the car just saw him slide round. Now we're going to have a localized yellow for sure, but whether he can keep the car going, whether he got his fingers onto the hand clutch. This car has got no clutch pedal. You've got to grab the 2 clutch levers, one on either side of the steering wheel, and I don't think that's the case. I think Hopin Tung has lost the engine.
New Zealand under pressure now from the Netherlands as well. Jeroen Blekemolen trying to use his extensive track knowledge to his advantage. These two, of course, had that wonderful dice earlier in the sprint race, and now it looks as though Netherlands might just have the edge, but just look at that spray that they're throwing up. Take a little look back. This was France passing New Zealand.
Yeah, very straightforward pass. Got the run off turn 16, picked up whatever aerodynamic drag or slipstream there was, and easily gets past. This is going back to China just a moment ago into turn 3, and the car just, the back end just gets away. Probably just that little bit too quick on the point of turning in, and Ireland find themselves the beneficiaries, and they are now up to 11th place.
China rejoins. At least he's back into the race, and I tell you what, as long as you can stay on the lead lap in this kind of conditions, you could still produce a result out of nowhere. The important thing is to keep going. Meanwhile, France definitely getting closer to Malaysia. Malaysia leading, Faraz Fauzi with a little bit of an advantage, but France getting closer.
He was closer by 1.4 seconds.
Netherlands round the outside of New Zealand, and that's for third, and Jeroen Blekemolen gets New Zealand back for what happened earlier on, and there's some response from the crowd who have sat here in pouring rain waiting to see what will happen, and now Blekemolen is producing some smiles again.
Well, the Netherlands team very happy. Robert Doornbos is here for the Netherlands team, and he is looking forward to getting his outing, which we understand may well take place in China in 1 month's time. But look, Jerome Bleekemolen able to do something which he couldn't do in similar conditions in the sprint race. That's attack, and he's right now attacking. He's looking to find a way to close down the gap to France in second place. Still the quickest car on the racetrack, but this lap from the Netherlands may well be the quickest lap with 36 to go.
Well, you've got to judge how hard to attack. Yes, Switzerland in very early. Now, what's going on here? There must be a problem for Neil Jarni. Has he had an incident? Has there something else gone wrong? He pulls into the pit box. They won't expect him, of course, at this early stage in the race. Taking a quick look around, there's a shake of the head from Neil. Oh, it's not looking good for the reigning title holders. And off is Ireland! Again, John, Ireland in trouble.
And this time they're not going to get out of the gravel, and Adam Carroll is beached. That car will have to be pulled clear by, and what a discipline. Ireland put so much into this, so confident and optimistic when they came here. They thought they could get at least one win, and didn't even start in effect the sprint race, and now within the space of 4 laps are out in effect of the feature race.
France looking good still in second place. Any work going on around the Swiss car? Not that I can see. They're going to fire it up and try and send him out again. Let's see whether they're going to continue. Looks as though he's got problems changing gear or something.
And, I think water in the electronics could easily be one of the functions. There's so much water out there, and of course everything is sealed off with silicone grease, but it only takes one little drop of water and that's it. But right now Malaysia consolidating. They've had the fastest 2 sectors in that last lap, and they've still got a 1.7 second advantage over France.
So let's just update you. It's Malaysia leading, France in second place, Netherlands third. You're riding with Jerome Bleekemolen in third. New Zealand now in fourth, South Africa in fifth, Italy sixth, then it's Lebanon in seventh and in the points at the moment in this early stage. Portugal eighth, Australia ninth, and Monaco in 10th, and of course Ireland in the gravel, so they're dropping out of the order, presumably out of the race.
I just thought I saw the back end of the Netherlands car taking an awful sideways step. It may just have been the impression through the spray, but it certainly looked very, very momentary, like it was a big, big off.
Well, he's kept control for the moment as they get that Irish car out of the way under yellows down there as the cars stream past. There's Earl Bamber driving for New Zealand. So far, so good from the youngster, and he made one mistake in practice. He lost control of the car down into the first corner, but no sign of that so far in these wet conditions. On board the race leader, and he is utterly focused. Listen up to the engine as well. Down the gears, of course, the paddle shift, making a sequential gearbox, making things easier in these conditions. Less danger of locking up.
But these conditions are much worse than they were in the sprint race. The fastest lap currently is a 1:48.8. The fastest lap in the sprint race, which went to France, was 3 seconds quicker.
Good driving again from Fauzi, John. Look at this. He's just over the white line a little bit, but nonetheless, he's opened up a fairly useful margin. Now, let's get some news from Ben Costanduris in the pits regarding Team Switzerland. What can you tell us, Ben?
Yeah, he's been sitting in the pits now for about a lap, just trying to find some gears. Just can't get any gears, can't select any. They seem to be there, but they're not selecting. And it looks like he's going to go back into the garage and out of the race. Unfortunate for Neil Jarni, who had such a good run in the first race.
And we've got South Africa off, and who else is that with him? Just trying to see, is it the Lebanese? No, Italian car. The Italian car of Fabio Onidi is off with South Africa. Those guys were running 6th and 7th, so maybe they had a bit of a coming together in the battle for position.
Yeah, looks like it was down in turn 13. That's the part of the racetrack where we saw Earl Bamber make a wonderful move on the host nation, the Netherlands. Let's look and see again. Here they come. Oh, it's just Italy just drove straight into the back of the South Africa car, then clobbered it a second time. So just way misjudging the pace of South Africa. The car, watch again and see, comes down, tries to go down the inside. South Africa takes its natural line, and Italy had nowhere to go in a serious bang between the two nations. Both out, and well, we're just dropping out literally like flies, just partly because of misjudgments and pretty fundamental ones too. Oh dear me, that's a lot of damage to the side pod of the South Africa car, as well as damage done to Italy.
Oh, that is such a shame after all the hard work that all these guys have done over the last week or so. It's just so demoralising to see that, and the Italian car out of the race as well, and the rescue crews are going to try and get those cars out of the gravel trap so they can get the yellow flags withdrawn. But poor old Adrian's out there just jogging back. It's not been a very good day, or not a very good weekend for him, I'm afraid. He did pick up 3 points for his 6th place finish in the sprint race. Remember, under the rules now, change of rules for this season, you can drop your worst weekend. You drop the whole weekend, you drop both race results effectively, and I think it may well be that South Africa will end up dropping their scores from here.
Yes, I think a lot of teams will take that opportunity, and it's one of the rule changes which is going to give everybody a little bit of a break. In other words, they can drop what is a poor score and consolidate the best of the rest. So with 33 laps to go, going on to lap 7, Farouz Fawzi looks very comfortable. He's able to control the pace. He's now up to 2.5 seconds ahead of France. The Netherlands have dropped back behind France, but I thought they were going to have a run, but they're now back to just over 3 seconds behind Team France in 3rd place.
Watch the eyes here as he guides the car through one of the faster sections, looking ahead as far as he can. Of course, he does have the advantage that there isn't a car in front, so he's not having to drive into the spray of other cars. And if you look at that visor, John, you can see that because it's not being splattered too much, is he?
No, and of course he's got a tear off on the visor, and if you're following another car, then liquid or water gets down between the tear off and the main visor screen itself, which in itself is not particularly enjoyable, but he's got that tear off. That'll come off at some point in the race, and he'll have then another clean screen to see even more. But when he makes his first pit stop, which he's bound to do between laps 8 and 16, then he's going to go back out into the field and will be behind other cars, of which most will be slower than he is.
Drive-through penalty has been given to Team China. We're not sure what it's for yet. It may have been something to do with the way he rejoined, perhaps, after his spin earlier, but that's just conjecture for the moment. But he will have to come through the pits on a drive-through penalty. There you are, looking at New Zealand. I thought he was coming in a bit quick. He may get away with this. Oh, just.
Well, he's had the early bath, that's for sure.
Yeah, that will be feeling pretty miserable, getting a lot of water dumped into his lap, but he's still there. He's running in 4th position. New Zealand in 4th, the Netherlands in 3rd, and ahead of them still France and our race leader Malaysia.
Yeah, let's look again and see El Bamber just a little bit too quick in. You can see he's trying to feed the car in, feel the car in, over the gravel, then through the water splash. There it goes. One of the problems with carbon fibre tubs is they give drivers a huge amount more security and safety, but if water gets in, it never gets out. He'll have to sit in that water for the remaining part of this race, 52 minutes or 32 laps.
Taking a look at Lebanon here in the points in 5th place. Now, this is more like it. Daniel Murad, you've got to keep it together. You're looking for the first ever points for the only nation representing all the Arab nations in A1GP World Cup of Motorsport, but it is tough out there. And this youngster, he's done well in the past in the junior categories, Formula BMW in the United States, he's won that title. He's been racing Formula Atlantic, in fact, this year in the States, up against Nigel Mansell's sons, amongst others, and he's been doing pretty well in that series, and here he is now in A1GP.
Well, there's no question, in my mind, he's got a lot of natural ability, but he doesn't seem to know where to sort of control it. He just drives beyond. There's another driver running directly behind Portugal, Philippe Albuquerque, somebody who also only got his car literally at the last knockings on Friday night. And Philippe Albuquerque was one of those drivers we were very impressed with as he came into A1GP to conclude the 3rd series.
First pit window is open. I wonder whether we'll see people come in early. Looks like Australia are going to come in early, and they are often the fastest of the guys in the pits. They have a very well-drilled crew, and they're very quick with their pit stops. But Australia at the moment running in 7th place. They are behind this group that we're looking at, Lebanon, Portugal, but in the background, about 9 seconds back actually, is Team Australia.
I just wonder the wisdom of coming in early. You're on wet weather tyres, you're trying to get those tyres to temperature. Would it not be wiser to run to the end of the pit stop window before you make your pit stop? Because when you go out on a new set of tyres, they will take then time to get back up to temperature. And the hope is, as Malaysia's in as well, so they're the first car in, maybe the thinking behind it is that you might have a track that has actually begun to improve. Just wait and see. Malaysia clearly, like Australia, feel come in at the earliest opportunity. The reason they do this in reality is because should there be a safety car intervention,
they've got a problem, John.
Yeah, left rear.
Left rear is slow. He's got it done. They lost a bit of time. Now, the Dutch car was in at the same time. They might be able to pick up a bit of ground on Malaysia here. But they also, let's just see, yeah. Oh no, they've got a problem with the right rear. That's a little bit slow. He hasn't got it done up yet. Come on. He's trying to get that air gun to work. No, it won't work.
No, it's not the nut. He's got a problem with the nut. So there we see. Lebanon goes out as well, and
good stop for Lebanon.
Big changes going on in these pit stops. Problem with the Netherlands car. They've lost position. They've lost a lot of time. So back out onto the racetrack. And in fact, going out behind, I think that it's not just Indonesia, they're going out behind as well.
Lebanon, I think it was Lebanon who made a very good stop. Australia, what is their stop like? Not bad. And they get their car underway. And France lead this race now. They've not been into the pits yet. So France are our new race leaders. They will be running ahead of New Zealand now because they've not been into the pits either. But we have seen Malaysia and the Netherlands in, and it was a slow stop, as we saw for Team Netherlands.
Now, the only issue about not coming in at the earliest opportunity is that if you go deeper into the pit stop window and there is a safety car intervention, then your gamble will be lost.
Oh, just running on the curb, but that was okay for Duval. He seemed to have that under control. France seemed to be leaving their man out a little bit longer. Yep, he's staying out again for another lap. Great opportunity, this.
Yes, indeed, and I mean, this is what I was trying to sort of allude to. If you've got a car which is working well on the tyres, you take the gamble about a safety car being called out against the driver on a set of tyres with which he's comfortable, has got temperature in, and now that you're in the lead of the race, as Duval is, he is running, well, his best lap currently is 1:48.3 against the time of Malaysia, but there again, back, left rear, right rear corner, and it's that wheel nut, they're taking the nut off and putting another one on, and well, the time loss, we wait for the cars to cycle their way through before we see where, in fact, the Netherlands car will actually be.
Good drill, though. They were ready for that. They had the backup wheel nut. They were ready to do it. And the other guy coming in to help him, China, making a pit stop as well. In fact, they've done their drive-through already, and now they've been back in, and that's for their official tyre change stop. But look how he comes out behind Malaysia. Presumably he's going to be a lap down. Yes, I think he's a lap down on those guys because of his drive-through.
So we wait to see as the race leader still yet to make a pit stop.
Watch his technique when we get a chance, John. He really uses the front tyres to sort of slow the car almost. You get a feel for the grip. Interesting driving style from Duval. Meanwhile, a little battle that's going on back between Indonesia and Korea just here. And this is for 10th place. These two guys are dicing for. Remember, man for Korea, Jinwoo Hwang, having his debut in the series.
Well, really, both of them struggling to get traction and running very closely indeed. And both need to be very careful that one little mistake by one or the other. Korea going up the inside to take that position away.
Yeah.
So courage from Jinwoo Hwang.
Oh, he nearly lost it.
Well, are you surprised? He probably thought, I've passed a car. But Indonesia is coming in.
So two great Asian nations going wheel to wheel, and it's Korea who managed to get past, and that puts him up into 10th position. Remember, we've seen some stop, and that was Indonesia coming in to make their pit stop behind. On board with the Netherlands. Now after their first pit stop, they're down in 8th position. A few cars ahead of them that haven't stopped, but as we know, they did lose valuable time. Satrio Hermanto for Team Indonesia then making the stop. Let's hope that one goes without a problem. Fronts get on pretty quickly, the rears are on. And away he goes.
Well, that was the team I actually watched during their practice stops this morning. And a well-drilled team by Dave Luff, former Formula 1 mechanic, and the team did it. It was one of those pit stops of more haste, less speed, and no mistakes made, no problem with wheel nuts. So Indonesia go out and they will benefit from that in the overall scheme of things.
New Zealand running second now, so they have not been into the pits for their stop yet. Earl Bamber is running some 9.5 seconds, quite a long way behind Team France. It's France with a very healthy advantage currently from New Zealand in second, and with Portugal not having stopped yet, they are now sitting third, courtesy of Philippe Albuquerque. So you've got a bit of a difference in strategy going on here between some of the top teams. Some of them have gone for the early pit stop. Now they have to stop before lap 16. At the moment, we're on lap number 12.
Yes, it's a gamble that teams have got to take. I think personally this was the right gamble to take. I'd rather keep my driver out on a set of tyres which, if he's comfortable and his lap times are competitive lap times, leave him out, bring him in at the last opportunity, and then worry about the next sector between the first end of the first pit stop window and the beginning of the opening of the second.
The rain is still pouring down here at Zandvoort. The conditions are not getting any better at all. Just so wet out there. But Earl Bamber for New Zealand, belying his lack of experience in a big, powerful car like this, looks as though he was born to drive one of these 600 horsepower Ferrari-powered machines. And having taken second place earlier on, he's sitting second at the moment, and actually he gained a bit on France on that last lap. He gained a few tenths, about 4 tenths of a second.
Yeah, France's last lap wasn't a particularly good one, as we look at Lebanon, Daniel Murad. Now, this is going to be excitement somewhere. Well, again, pretty good reactions, kept the car in control.
He's got Netherlands breathing on down his neck. That's perhaps why he's trying a bit harder, because after that pit stop, Lebanon gained the place from Netherlands. Lebanon running 6th now, and Netherlands down in 7th.
And Netherlands running about a second and a half a lap quicker than the Lebanese car. And I mean, I was just trying to find out what the Malaysia car is doing. Well, in fact, Malaysia had a bad last lap as well. So whether that's catching up and getting caught in traffic, I suspect that's what's possibly happening to France, and certainly I think is happening to Malaysia.
And that was the other thing, with Malaysia making an early pit stop, they lost that advantage of clear track, which they were enjoying. So again, France now have gained that advantage.
Well, that's why I thought that Malaysia might opt to keep Farouz Fawzi out as long as possible. As long as you've got control of the racetrack, and that's what they did do, take advantage of it, run it to the limit of the pit stop window. The only downside, as I mentioned, is simply the safety car intervention.
Again, Daniel Murad having to react quickly to the car as it almost got out of shape, the same place that Ho Pin Tung had his spin earlier. And there's some young fans who are enjoying themselves despite the weather conditions, particularly now that Blake Mullen is attacking Team Lebanon.
But the problem that Blake Mullen has now got, of course, is that he's now being slowed down. He's running at the pace of the Lebanese car, running in dense spray. So his momentum has gone. The momentum that carried him all the way up to the rear of the Lebanese car, that's been lost. All he can hopefully do is put a pressure onto Lebanon, put his car in the mirrors as best you can. And frankly, I doubt Daniel Murad's paying too much attention, but Murad's slow through turn 10. This is a chance for Netherlands to get up, to try and go the long way around turn 11. And, well, doesn't seem to be showing cuts, makes the cut back, tries to cut down the inside. Possible he's alongside, he's got the momentum, and the driver has taken the position.
Good stuff from Blake Mullen. That was good track knowledge. I'm sure Murad will try and call. No, boys, don't make contact. You don't need to be doing that. And they just about get away with it.
I just wonder, I mean, is track awareness, car awareness, or just simply does he get a big red mist? I think he might just get a big red mist.
Well, he didn't need to really fight back like that at that point, because otherwise he's in danger of losing what could be a tremendous result. He's still well placed here. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, again, Netherlands car got the advantage out of turn 11. Murad stuck his car down the inside, almost into locking wheels. Fortunately, no damage that we can see, but it just shows you the momentum and the spirit that he has. This young driver from the Lebanon or Lebanese background, and prepared to go wheel to wheel and stick it down the outside of turn 13.
So the two of them get away with it. Netherlands up into 6th position now, having made their pit stop, but they're still behind USA. So USA also gained on Netherlands in that last round of pit stops because they had that problem with the rear wheel. And Charlie Kimball's the next one that he's got to try and get past.
Just looking at it further around the racetrack, France has got a 23.5 second advantage over Malaysia, who did dominate the early part of this race. There we see Loic Duval. He's got 3 laps at the end of this lap to make his pit stop. Is he going to come in? No, it is. France are coming in. So 23.8 seconds was the advantage when they went across the line the last time. Can he come into the pit stop, make the wheel and tire change, and get back out before this driver? This is the car really that may well be in contention to take back the lead of this feature race.
Absolutely, this is the one he's racing against. They had the lead before the pit stop, and into the pits right now. France run out from the pit garage. They have to stay in the pit garage until the car comes to a complete halt. Then they go to work. The limited number of people that are allowed to work on the car.
Wheel rolling out into the centre of the pit lane.
Yeah, that's not good news. They've got to try and get that under control. Looking good, looking good. Yeah, that was a smooth stop for Team France. They've had their problems in the past, but that was a good one.
France should get out of the pit lane, depending just where they are there. He has, so they've kept the lead, the advantage of staying out longer than Malaysia, who came in at the earliest opportunity, has played to their advantage. And also, to some degree, for El Bamber in New Zealand, he's going to find himself a little bit closer to the Malaysian car than he would have done if he'd come in early.
Yeah, I think he's going to rejoin effectively in 3rd position. Just trying to see where Portugal is. I think Portugal a little further behind. So New Zealand rejoining in 3rd, and the race now maintaining the lead, in fact, is Team France after their pit stop. So good work by the French crew, good strategy as well. Now, what's been going on in the gloom? This is Indonesia, Satrio, and he's hit the barrier hard.
Yeah, that's the same place that Brazil got caught out. There's water that runs across the track on the entry up into turn 7. It's a high speed, effectively a flat out approach, and that's a heavy damage to the right rear corner. The Netherlands back in and out.
It's all over, is it, for the Dutch team? I can't believe it. He's signalling furiously at them. He's lost gears as well. It looks like the same thing that's happened to Yanni. Oh.
Well, I don't know why he came in. He had a demonstration with the team, and he's absolutely stoked. Can't believe it. Look, gets the power on. Car snakes under power. Don't know what the problem was, whether again it is a gear selection problem, but whatever it is, that's a very, very unhappy. I've never seen Jeroen Bleekemolen so emotional, so upset, and back on track. Just calm down. Don't lose your head on the racetrack.
Well, drama indeed for the host nation, and he's got himself going. Let's see if we can hear what's happened with Jan Lammers.
Jan, could you explain that confusion there?
Well, the water is giving us some trouble because the shifting wasn't working anymore, and there is a connector on the steering wheel that should connect, and I think the water just screwed things up, so it didn't work. That's why he came in to change the steering wheel, but it appears to be working again.
So we might see him back in later.
Sorry, man.
He might have a problem again, the same thing?
He might, but now we have a spare steering wheel.
Thank you, Jan.
Well, that was drama indeed. I'm not quite sure what the problem was, why he was remonstrating quite so much. They put the steering wheel on.
Team France under investigation. That, I suspect, was because one of the front wheels rolled away from the car and rolled technically out of the pit box that the car has to work in. So that might be a penalty for Team France. That we saw just the bottom of the screen, and we'll have to wait and see.
In the meantime, Portugal has taken the lead of the race, it says on our timing screen. What's going on? I can't believe that's right, so we'll have to check that. Maybe there's water in the timing as well. We'll have to wait and see on that.
It's certainly getting into the microphone in the pit lane. I mean, the rain has been remorseless all day, and of course rain and racing cars and electronics. Oh, his career is off the track. I think this is the final time.
Oh.
No, it's not. He's got it running again.
No, but he's now got it stuck, John.
He's got to stuck the belly of the car. Oh, and Portugal, massive accident for Portugal. And is that done at the times that happened? We can't tell, but that is a massive accident for Philippe Albuquerque. Well, whereabouts on the racetrack? We wait to see where it is.
No, it's the faster section, isn't it? Up the back, isn't it? Coming down into Skyback, isn't it? After the sweepers.
I mean, it looks like it. Yes, let's look into it again. It is again. Oh, wow, a big heavy impact again, slamming into the barrier on the outside of the racetrack. And again, the rivulet of water that's now a major stream, if not big heavy impact for two cars up there. Brazil in the morning. Now, this is the incident we saw in the replay. Again, water running across right on the apex, and Correa getting caught by that. So the rain is continuing to fall, and it's taking its toll. Safety car has been deployed. Two cars, the Portuguese car, heavy impact up at the exit of turn 7. And we're waiting to see now get this Korean car towed to safety, but looks is okay. Philippe Albuquerque, but he'll be sorted out. That was a severe impact on the right rear corner of the car.
Oh, desperately disappointing for Team Portugal. They've been one of those really burning the midnight oil to get that car prepared. Safety car on standby, and I think it will be coming out to try and pick up race leader Team France. It is France that still leads this race. Malaysia running in second. Of course, this will bring them all close together once again. New Zealand in third, and Lebanon now, John, running in fourth place. So that's something to watch out for.
Well, that waved yellow flag up at turn 7. I hope everybody takes great attention, because there's vehicles up there. There's a crane to pull that car to safety. There's trucks again in turn 10. That flood that was on the apex is now extending its way sort of out into the middle of the racetrack. Loic Duval tippy-toes his way around. He wants to maintain that sort of pace. He said he's got a rhythm going, and it's important not to let that rhythm drop off, because if you drop off the rhythm, you'll lose concentration. But more importantly, you'll probably lose whatever tire temperature you've got. But look at the rain as you come down. Again, floods now on the inside of 13, having to go wide on the exit of 14 to try and find some grip somewhere around this track.
Yeah, the weather conditions have just been appalling. The rain has been coming down heavily for several hours now, and you can see again he does that on purpose. Interesting, he loves using that curb on the outside.
Well, if he can make it work for him, that's fine, as long as he goes on to it with the car parallel to the racetrack, parallel to the gravel trap on the outside, he'll be fine.
Safety car sees that, or hears that the leader is on the main straight and is ordered to get out there and lead them around. So we're under safety car conditions with 23 laps to go, and let's just quickly update you on the positions as they stand. It's France leading. Malaysia have crossed the line in second place, waiting for New Zealand now to cross the line in third. Lebanon's running fourth. Australia is running fifth now for John Martin. Sixth place for USA. They're getting the Korean car back underway. And by the way, let's get down to the pits and hear now from Neil Yarni.
So Neil, what happened to you?
At a good start, I think was good, looking good for a good race, but then I lost my gears, upshift. I just couldn't upshift anymore.
What are the conditions out there? How difficult is it?
I didn't get the whole question.
How are the conditions out there? How difficult is it?
It's very wet. It's unbelievably wet. A lot of aquaplaning. The visibility on the start was like zero. I was just watching the wall on the right side and checking where could I brake, but I couldn't see nothing. So, well, as soon as everything got a bit out of each other, it was better.
Thank you.
A disappointed Neil Yarni, and the defence of the title has not started particularly well here for Team Switzerland, and we're yet to see a nation successfully defend an A1 title.
Yeah, you can see the water running across the racetrack. That's what caught out Philippe Albuquerque coming up to the top of turn 7. Then you have that drop down, and again more rivulets of water running across. And it's what's making it so difficult for drivers, because they go through one lap and it's drivable, it's acceptable. The next time through they're getting caught out by the fact that just that much more water is running across the track. Now we've got 23 laps to go, but we've only got just under 34 minutes of this race remaining, and we're not going to see this race go the full distance of 40 laps, and we don't know how long we're going to see the safety car out on track. They're certainly going to draw the field all back together, and that's going to give people like Farouz Fawzi in Malaysia, El Bamber and New Zealand, and also the China car that's running a bit further down the field, so it's in ninth place. So the field will be drawn together. We don't know how long the safety car will remain. It will be there, no doubt, until the race director is satisfied the circuit is in a condition fit to go motor racing with again. And the problems that everybody faced at the start of this race when we had that standing or that rolling start, well, once again, everybody behind Team France is now going to have to contend with a lack of visibility.
I tell you what, it might help the Dutch car a bit, because they had to make that extra pit stop to sort the steering wheel out, if that is okay now. Seems to be running all right at the moment. He's down in 7th place, is Jeroen Bleekemolen, but of course they'll all be brought up close to one another, and that give him every chance to go on the attack of USA, Australia, Lebanon, who are all running ahead of him.
Yes, it's a lot of ifs and buts, and it's just over half an hour of this race remaining, and an awful lot can happen. We're on lap 19 right now. The pit stop window will open up in a further 7 laps, so it doesn't seem that long ago for the pit stop window closed on lap 16. And now running under safety car for 2 laps. The field once again going to compact. If you look at Team USA, Charlie Kimball got back on track again.
Yeah, he had that spin early in the race, didn't he? But actually he's done all right since then. He's running in 6th place, so useful points on offer for Team USA if he can keep it there.
Listen, I bet you when he was facing the track and the cars coming towards him, he would have taken 6th place if you offered it up to him.
Yeah, well, that's where he's running, but he will have the Dutch car behind him when they all get together again, and that could make life a bit more difficult, because we know Bleekemolen is lapping the track pretty fast. It's just a question of whether that problem with the electronics on the steering wheel is fully sorted, or whether it recurs later in the race. So it's France leading the pack behind the safety car, Malaysia sitting second, then New Zealand, forget the yellow and red car of China, and Korea as well actually in there. They're both a lap down, so we can forget about them. So it's then Lebanon running in 4th, and then Australia in 5th position ahead of USA. So USA in 6th place, as we said. That's got to be encouraging for Andretti Green Racing, who are having their first ever A1GP event, and no doubt after that earlier spin, fairly pleased with what Charlie's doing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is a real baptism of rain. It's been the most difficult conditions. I mean, had this been the last race of the series where everybody was familiar with the cars and had the benefit of a season running, that's one thing. But doing the first round of Series 4 in these conditions, that's diabolical.
Well, let's go and find out from the man himself, Michael Andretti, on the pit wall.
Michael, it's really great to see you here. Happy birthday as well. How do you think Charlie's getting on out there?
He's doing good. You know, he had one little spin there, but now this yellow, packs us up again. So we're back in the fight. So not too bad.
How does it feel racing back in Europe again? Because it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It feels good to be back here in this way, and I wish the weather was a little bit better, but that's the way it is.
I guess you wouldn't want to be out there, would you?
No, I'm very happy to be sitting here.
Thanks very much, Michael.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ben. Well, the safety car is coming in, so we're going to go racing. Oh, and we've got a little bit of bunching going on here.
Well, what happened? The safety car slowed everybody down so much that some drivers overreacted, and then the cars behind had to pull out and pass. And I don't know whether that was the responsibility of France backing it all up and then getting on it and going, or whether that occurred slightly further back in the pack. I think it was further back in the pack, in fairness.
Well, France has certainly made it work for them, John. He's got a big lead over Malaysia as they head down into the first corner through the gloom. It's New Zealand in third, China a lap down, remember. So then it's Lebanon coming through. They've got ahead of that lapped car of Korea, and then there's the Dutch car with the orange machine of Team Netherlands. That's the one perhaps to watch over the next few laps, as Australia as well, trying to get past that lapped car of Korea.
Yes, and that's going to be a little frustration because it's difficult visibility being running so close to a car that you are ahead of on the road, but he probably isn't fully aware. He thinks a car behind me and going to race it.
No, that's right. It's confusing when you've got cars that are a lap down or so. But this is giving the Netherlands a huge opportunity, because it's now brought him right up to the back of both the United States car and Jackaroo, the yellow and green Australian machine. John Martin's usually pretty good in the wet conditions. He's driving well so far, but he needs to try and get past that Korean car as quickly as possible, so he's not put under too much threat by Team USA and Team Netherlands. Leaders coming through the back section of circuit, and France using that advantage once again of good visibility.
Yes, I mean, that is the main perk of having the opportunity to lead, and now Farouz Fawzi, who enjoyed that in the early part of this race, having to run in the spray of the France car, and Loic Duval, who was so impressive early this morning, again equally impressive in these difficult conditions. Earl Bamber, you have to say, really in many respects has been the star of the weekend for me, showing great maturity from somebody of only 18 years of age.
And the Dutch car has got ahead of USA. They've both got past Korea, as has Australia. So one place gained by the Netherlands there. That puts him into 6th.
Yeah, but Jerome Blake-Mullen almost making a meal of it down in 13 and 14, almost allowing Charlie Kimball for the USA to get back and take that position back again.
Blake-Mullen really chucking the car in a bit harder now as he wants to work those tyres and get the most out of them, more like the sort of style we've seen from Loic Duval, who's very good at that, really works the tyres hard, maintains the tyre temperature, and that's why, part of the reason why I'm sure that Loic Duval is leading this race, using all of his experience of racing in Japan extensively over the last few years as well.
1.9 seconds on that last lap. That was the speed advantage that France had over Malaysia in second place. Let's look again and see how those overtakes took place. The orange car of the Netherlands going the wrong way around, cuts back over there. Charlie Kimball almost loses the back of the USA car, and that was the momentum that gave the opportunity to the Netherlands to sweep by, and a nice easy sweep pass for Jerome Blake-Mullen.
So now Blake-Mullen is trying to get past Australia. There you see the two cars. John Martin's driving for Team Australia. Had a good result here, Australia, a couple of years ago when Ryan Briscoe actually beat the Dutch car in the very last lap of the race. So we've seen a contest between these two here at Zandvoort in the past, and now it's on again, but this time it's for 5th place.
And all around the quicker parts of this racetrack, you've just got to keep your station. It's going to be coming into corners like turn 10, though, with the water on the apex of the corner. Everybody very cautious. Here into turn 11, we've seen that's been a popular overtaking pace on the circuit. There you can see the lighter part of the tarmac. That gives some people grip, other people stay wide of it, seeking the grip that is available on the outside of the corner.
Yeah, and it looked like Charlie or Kimball there when he had a problem. Obviously, he found the grip initially, but when the track changed surface again, suddenly the car broke away from him.
Oh yes, you've got to remember Kimball again oversteering in the first part of this complex of turns 13 to 14.
That's Monaco.
Yes, little drive over Clivio Piccioni. We haven't seen very much of the Monaco car. Slides the car under power on the exit of turn 14 in frustration, I suspect.
Yeah, he's running in 8th place, so of course that yellow has certainly helped him as well. It's caught him up to that particular group. He was in trouble in the first part of the race, so that's why he dropped back, but got a lot of experience as Piccioni, and she's shown some good form in wet conditions in the past, so let's just keep an eye on him as well. But no doubt John Martin's done a couple of good laps there. He's managed to ease away from the Dutch car of Blake-Mullen, and Blake-Mullen hasn't made the sort of progress I thought that yellow flag might allow him to. They're not far behind Lebanon, still running in 4th place, but remember it's still France leading this race with 19 laps to go, and we're about 3 laps away from the pit lane opening up again.
Yeah, they're going to be opening up on lap 26, so we're now on lap 22. But the problem that Jerome Blake-Mullen has is the same old chestnut. You've got your momentum when you're driving on your own. When you catch up to another car, then you lose it and you get caught, you get trapped in the spray of the car. If you haven't timed it or worked it out as to the best possible place for you, then that's how you go. So sometimes fall back again, then take another charge up and try and time your strengths against the point of the track that the car you're overtaking is at its weakest.
Clivio Piccioni there, and we can get some news on Team Monaco. Actually, you can see there's some damage on that car. Let's get some news from Ben in the pit lane.
Yeah, exactly right, Ben. Damage to the Monaco car, the front wing on the right-hand side. The end plate that actually creates the downforce is missing, so he's going to be struggling with that car. The front end won't dig in as much as he will want in these wet conditions where you'd run maximum downforce. And unfortunately, we can't replace it either, so he's going to have to stick with that for the rest of the race. Monaco just discussing about what they're going to do next.
Okay, thank you for that. When the pit lane opens, I would imagine he'd be one of the first ones to come in.
Yeah, I think the race stewards and race director will be looking at that as well, wondering is that potentially a hazardous situation. That would just be fly off. Would it get into the path of an oncoming car, or what would it do? But we are within almost just over a lap now for the pit lane window beginning to open up. So they may just let him stay out and hope that it stays on the car.
Meanwhile, France leading the race and Malaysia both going quickly at the moment. France has just set a new fastest lap, but Malaysia not far behind, a couple of tenths of a second slower, and both of them much quicker than anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, they're running now in the middle of 147, so everybody else is running probably in the high to middle 149. So these two drivers at a different level, and even Earl Bamber, who's really been running with this group of leading cars, dropping back by about, just under 2 seconds a lap.
Here we are with Loic Duval then, the race leader. Just watch his style, watch how he turns into the corners.
Yeah, he makes a very sharp, abrupt turn, gets the front wheels actually sliding, but he still is able to get the car to turn. Primarily he keeps the back of the car, I was going to say keeps the back of the car stable. There you saw on 11, a little bit of a fidget from the rear tyres, just wanting to get away, brake traction, but he has got that sort of style in the wet, where he turns the wheels in those corners certainly quicker than we're seeing from others.
Yes, that's right. Depends on the corner, depends on the speed of the corner there. Turns in quite hard behind him. Here we are on board with Fares Fawzi. Good contest this between the two of them in absolutely treacherous conditions. Again, look at the eyes as he glances down at the steering wheel to see what the instruments are recording. There's Lebanon running very strongly in fourth, but Australia not far behind, as you could see there. So at the moment, Daniel Morad is holding fourth, but John Martin's catching.
Yeah, Daniel Morad had a poor lap on the previous lap. He was basically 1.5 seconds slower on that. That may have been a driving error. Maybe just simply that he's not able to maintain the pace that John Martin behind, but John Martin will know from the pit board because he probably really cannot see the car ahead of him. He doesn't know whether that's a lap car or whether that's a car he's in competition with. He'll rely on the information from the pit board and also from the two-way radio.
Absolutely, and in fact on that last lap the Australian car was only a tenth faster than the Lebanon car, so it was obviously a little mistake or something on the previous lap that cost him dear, but nonetheless it's still much the same situation with Lebanon running fourth, very much on target for their first ever points. Not only that, they wouldn't need much, something go wrong with one of those top three cars in the next pit stop, for example. Lebanon could be on for a podium here.
Well, anything is possible. These races, they're unpredictable, and that's what I enjoy about wet weather racing, particularly if the track does begin to finally show some indication of drying out. I have to say, looking out from our commentary booth, there's little prospect of that. There's
Right.
Monaco in, and they've come in on lap 24. They haven't been able to make that tyre change, so that's an additional stop for the Monaco entry, and that's going to drop them down through the standings.
Yep, so that's disappointing for Monaco. They've had a bit of a tough baptism as well, haven't they, into the world of A1GP. Did very well in qualifying, though, to be top 5 in their first ever event. Well, that is certainly something to celebrate. Might have had a tough day today, but they'll go away having learnt a huge amount.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of experience with Clemo Piccioni, and jumping into this car, a driver at that level is able to adapt very quickly indeed. What will be interesting to see. Oh, and around it goes, and now it's Lebanon. And Australia takes that place away. That was fourth place that Lebanon has just given up by that careless moment down in turn 13. John Martin saw it, he positioned his car, drove around the outside of the Lebanon car, and Daniel Morad has given up one place just through a little bit of carelessness.
But he's still there, he's still in the fight, and he could still score points. Let's take another look.
Yes, down under braking, turns in, runs wide, and gradually around it goes. Got it going again, and was... Well, you know, how close was that to actually retaining it?
Yeah.
But John Martin won around the outside. There's more bite around the outside of turn 14 anyway. And there you see the oversteer coming again, turning in probably under the brakes. Just, he should have been braking a little earlier and settle the car and then enter the corner under a fraction of power.
Well, he's still there, but Australia, there's a little relief for them because they've moved up into 4th position now. It's been a tough weekend for those boys, but now they're looking to maybe get something out of it. 16 laps to go, long way to go still. But remember, those good pit stops that they can deliver, that might help them move up a bit further. Team USA, meanwhile, here running in 7th place.
Yeah, there's a bit of a change because the Netherlands were showing in the last lap of being ahead of the USA. Now the positions on the track are actually reversed. So that was at the end of lap 24. We don't know whether that was an overtake or we just the timing and scoring has yet to catch up.
No, I think he has been past. Looks like maybe the Dutch car had a problem on the last lap, or maybe Blake Mullen had a mishap because he's, I think, dropped.
It would have happened in the Tarzan Herpen or between Tarzan and all the way up to the Hugenholz corner. So short space of track that what was on the 24th lap position was different as they came out of Hugenholz. There it is.
Well, it was a straightforward pass.
I think that was a problem for the Netherlands. I think they may well have been struggling a little bit with what they struggled with earlier when they had to make a pit stop and change the steering wheel.
Yeah, quite possibly maybe a gear change problem again. And look how quickly USA has opened up a bit of a gap there. There is a steering wheel being prepared. There's a spare steering wheel ready for the Dutch car when he makes his pit stop. And of course now with 25 laps completed, there's just one more lap to go before they can start making their pit stops.
About 15 laps to go, 19 minutes remaining. So again, it's either going to be a timed race plus a lap. I doubt we're going to see 15 laps of this race completed.
You can really hear there, he's in a high gear by the sound of it. It was very low revving. I mean, this engine has massive amount of torque, but even so, he needs a few more gears there, I think.
Well, you don't want 600 horsepower in these conditions. You're with the engine running up towards its maximum RPM. You want to put it into a higher gear and use that torque and use the smoothness of that Ferrari engine to pull you through the corner without an abrupt snap of traction at the rear of the car.
I'm sure he's struggling for gears. That's what it's about. He's not got the range of gears that he would normally have, and that's dropped him down then to 7th position now. France still lead this race, remember. We've got 15 laps to go. Malaysia running second, some 6 3/4 of a second behind. Then it's New Zealand in 3rd, Australia now in 4th, Lebanon in 5th place, United States in 6th, Netherlands in 7th, and Monaco still running in 8th.
And look at the stream of water, especially coming up through turns 5, 6, up the top of the hill, that's turn 7, then dropping down. I mean, there's a huge amount of standing water at what is one of the quickest parts of the racetrack.
Yeah, so Blake Mullen fighting the water, fighting a car that's not running quite as well as it should be. Now, we've got some radio from on board that car. This was just a moment ago. Let's listen.
Roads like this, I can't do a lot. I mean, it's stuck in 5th or 4th the whole time.
Well, there we go. Confirmation. Stuck in 5th or 4th all the time, he said.
Yes, it's a big handicap. But, you know, you've got to use what you've got, and your own Blake Mullen as a driver have a huge amount of experience, probably one of the most experienced drivers anywhere in A1GP, and just he'll have to drive around it. That's all he can do until that pit stop window opens for him to come in, and which should be open now, so he'll probably come in at the earliest convenience.
New fastest lap by this car in 2nd place at the moment, but he's just set a new fastest lap, 1:47.232, and that's about 7/10 quicker on that particular lap than Loic Duval, but there is still a 6-second gap between them. So the next pit stop, which is coming up very soon, is absolutely crucial.
Now, we didn't know that there was an investigation into Team France. We never found out if there was a conclusion to that. I suspect that was due to the pit stop when one of the front wheels ran away from the pit garage, the pit box. We wait to see whether there will be any action taken on that. But is that the gap? Was that the France car just going into turn 11? It could well be that the pace of Farouz Fawzi now is once again, as we saw in that sprint race, beginning to close down the race leader.
Perhaps. I think France is a little further.
Well, there it is. There was the France car. There's Malaysia behind it. Is the France car I saw going into turn 11. That gap is down to, I would say, under the 6 seconds it was 1 lap ago when they came through to complete what would have been their 26th lap.
Yeah, in fact, looking at the sectors, it's down to 5 seconds now, so he's gained a second on that last lap. And it did look as though the crew's getting ready for him to come in, doesn't it? So we'll see if he comes in this time.
Track conditions, I would say, are fractionally better than they've been in some parts of the track, particularly here coming on to the start-finish straight. They're still pretty awful around the rest of the track, and as Malaysia came in before France.
Yeah, so Malaysia, again, as they did early in the race, are going for the first opportunity to make their pit stop and into the Malaysia pits. Now, they had a little problem last time. It did cost him some time, and they've got to hope for a smooth wheel change on this occasion. guys go to work. Crash helmets, by the way, that the pit crew are using are a design that a fan made. They had a competition to design the crash helmet designed for the colours for this year, and so some lucky fan got his chosen. Now, it looks like it's a pretty good stop.
Yeah, a little bit of a problem, I would say, in the left rear, but pretty much also getting him in and out. A reasonable pit stop, I think. Malaysia will be not too unhappy about it. They had a 6.5 second advantage over New Zealand, who had yet to make their second stop. Australia
and Lebanon behind them as well, so two key teams coming into the pits for their second pit stop. Watch Australia, we know how quick they can be. Let's see if they can make it as fast with the new car. Oh, that looked good, John.
Yeah, that's going to consolidate that 5th place for John Martin, because the Lebanon car still, it's actually coming down the pit lane, but good pit stop from both teams. Lebanon should be pleased with that.
Lebanon's got ahead though.
Where did that, whose car was that further down the pit lane?
That was somebody else. Lebanon has just managed to ease ahead. Netherlands is in.
Another steering wheel change and a bit of a visor wipe for Netherlands, so that Lebanon car was ahead of the Australia car in the pit lane, so that's given them the opportunity to get ahead. The car that was behind, what we thought was Lebanon, clearly wasn't.
That was a great stop by Lebanon then, and this time it's a smoother stop for Team Netherlands. So Jeroen Bleekemolen's on his way. France have stayed out, as they did on that first round of stops.
Continue to stay out as well. Another lap in the books on this second set of tyres. But France shortly going to get ready to make their pit stop.
Yeah, it looks like it might be next time around, doesn't it? Again, it's that flick into the first corner where he turns in hard. Now, take a look back at Australia. This was the battle. Oh, he had a problem getting going. Or was he simply allowed? No, I think he had a problem actually getting the thing up to speed, and they ended up going out side by side. Now, I'm sure that will be looked at.
Well, I think the Lebanon car was on what they call the racetrack on the left-hand side, and I think technically the car that's on the inside, we saw what happened in Mexico with Switzerland when they got caught by that and were penalised. But the advantage went to Lebanon, so I suspect it'll be let it go. The advantage to Lebanon will remain.
Now, New Zealand in from 3rd place, effectively. Let's see how this one goes. Earl Bamber's doing an outstanding job for a young man, and he's on his way. Good stop from that crew.
Yes.
And you just saw Malaysia turning into the first corner as New Zealand rejoins.
Well, Malaysia had a good pit stop. New Zealand have had a good pit stop. So really, as I mentioned before, I suspect it's going to be status quo. But watch. See, there's what happens on a brand new set of tyres. They aren't up to running temperature. Even though they've got those nice sharp edges that a new set of race tyres, wet tyre, the weather tyres have got, it is very easy to get caught out just simply because the temperature is not as high as the set that you've taken off.
Absolutely, and there's that very tricky river of water running at that section as well, which has caught out a few cars already here today, and so all of them have got to be a bit careful at that right-hander Gerlach-Bocht as they turn into it. France getting ready then for their pit stop, and it needs to be smooth. It doesn't need to be the fastest pit stop we've seen, but they've got a little bit of an advantage over Malaysia before these stops were made. But Malaysia, of course, will be pushing hard now to try and close that gap up. Is he in? Yes, he's cutting across, I think, in the gloom. Into the pit lane he comes.
It wasn't quite certain, but it was a very late cut, and he used the maximum he could coming off turn 16, and then came in at the last opportunity, got the speed down in the pit lane, running down 80 kilometers per hour, and pulls up. Nice clear entry, and probably equally clear. So the French team go to work, and there is the Malaysia car coming out of turn 13 into turn 14, and I would say the advantage has once again gone to France. They stayed out that little bit longer, and we now see what's happening in turn 15, and France have completed their work and on their way, and it's France will retain the lead.
Yep.
By even, I think, an extended margin.
Yeah, by the whole length at the start-finish straight, by the looks of things, because Malaysia's just coming out of the final corner.
The only issue for France is they've come out directly behind the Team USA entry. Now they're going to be, in effect, well, USA is actually showing now as running second. So, in fact, they may well be shown as leading the race. But good job from Team France. The guys are very happy indeed. But running behind the Team USA car, they have only a number of laps before USA will make a pit stop. But France will want to get ahead of USA as quickly as possible. Otherwise, he will lose his momentum, and consequently, that will allow Malaysia to catch up. You can see just how much he's fallen behind that USA car already. There's Malaysia coming along, what will be in effect in second place in a couple of laps' time.
Yeah, but they lost out there once again, Malaysia, because he was definitely, well, the gap was down to 5 seconds, wasn't it, if you remember, before they started making those pit stops, and the gap is a great deal bigger than that. This time around, it looks as though it's up to about 8 seconds, I would say. So that's something to watch out for.
Team Australia under investigation.
Right.
And that again is for that incident where we saw Lebanon and Australia leaving the pit lane side by side. Wait to see. I mean, I feel that there's no advantage or disadvantage to either team, and it'll be investigated. Hopefully no action will be taken.
So Loic Duval, can he keep it together for the remaining 11 laps of this race to take a victory at the first event of this fourth season for Team France, the team that has won more individual races than any other in the history of A1GP. Winners, of course, in the first season of the entire series, and they've struggled to challenge for the title quite as effectively since that first year, but they still have more wins than any other nation. Across the line he comes. We'll get an idea on that gap. Malaysia just coming through the final corner. Australia there, Alan Jones. And of course he's talking about that pit, what happened in the pit lane. That's why they know they're under investigation. So they're discussing the situation and wondering how it's going to be dealt with by the stewards. Meanwhile, Lebanon and Australia are close to one another on track.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be sorted out on track unless the stewards get a hand in it, and they may decide to apportion blame, and a penalty could be awarded to Australia. Cars are not allowed to go out side by side. That precedent was established very clearly in Mexico last year with Switzerland.
So confirmation of that investigation going on. But Daniel Morad for Lebanon driving very good stuff at the moment. He's in 5th place, and after one or two little incidents, and he had that moment where he did a complete 360. He's brave though, isn't he? You know, even when he has a moment, it doesn't stop him pushing and driving hard.
Let's look again and see. There's the Lebanon car coming behind, and it's as if the Australia car sort of bogs down, and Australia tried to force the issue, but the momentum and the right in this issue clearly are on the side of Lebanon. And well, did he pinch? I think they might have had contact actually, but it was very faint contact, so it might be because of that. Alan Jones he'll stand and argue his corner. Not very happy.
And
USA
off. Charlie Kimball is off. Oh, can you believe it? When it looked as though they were going to get a solid point-scoring result, they had left it late. And he just set a quick lap there. Previous lap was a good one, John, and he was going well, but those tyres obviously had a few more laps on them. He's shaking his head. He can't believe it.
It wasn't just a good one, it was the quickest one of the race.
Wow.
1:47, 1:16. Michael Andretti looks at the screen. He's seeing the pictures that you're seeing back at home. Charlie Kimball having just set the fastest race lap of anybody, and then throws it into the gravel trap, and it's all over for Team USA. What disappointment.
Oh, you can't believe it. You have to feel he's such a likeable young man, so enthusiastic. A man who was diagnosed with diabetes a couple of years ago, had to stop racing for a while, but got it all sorted out. He monitors his blood sugar levels. Even during the races he can monitor it. He's got an implant that allows him to do that, and so it's fully sorted. But what happened here? Let's take a look, John.
Yes, again, the same thing. That quick exit out of turn 7, and look at the speed of the car. I mean, very fortunate. That's a steeply cambered gravel trap, and that brought the car to a standstill. But again, that corner 7 catching out 3 drivers, 2 in big-time accidents for Michael Andretti and for Team USA. Little damage to the car, but damage to their pride. They thought they were clearly on for a good points haul here this afternoon in the feature race.
These conditions are extremely tough, but he'll be kicking himself for that one. It is turning into a timed race now, John, as you mentioned earlier. No way we can go the full 40 laps in these conditions, and the slower pace, and of course with safety car having been out there. So we now have just under 7 minutes plus a lap to remain in this race, and it's looking good for France with a 7-second advantage over Malaysia and maintaining a quick pace. New Zealand still running in a very strong 3rd. And Lebanon in 4th, but Australia not far behind.
No, and there we go back to this battle, whether it actually is a battle in real terms, while the stewards investigate that incident at the exit of the pit lane between Australia and Lebanon. John Martin, he'll be in there racing. He knows he sees a car ahead of him. He will be advised to race that car as we go back to Clivio Piccioni or Monte Carlo there all the way down. Well, they're in 6th place. They've got points, first points, potential points for Monaco, another new entrant into A1GP and picking up points at the first event.
Absolutely right, yes they are, and indeed the cars that are a couple of laps down are also with a prospect of scoring points, and that means that China could score some points, and would you believe it, Korea could score a point here today because they're still running and they're in 10th position, and points pay down to 10th place in the feature race.
Well, races in these conditions are really what you describe as a punter's race. You take the wildest odds you can get on the most unlikely outcomes, And you know, those are the under control and out of control. Oh,
it's Lebanon. Lebanon has hit China on the main straight, and it's taken both cars out. Would you imagine it?
That is a very heavy shunt for the Lebanese car, pretty much losing no speed at all and going into that tower wall at the end of the towers on Herpen. There's the China car, Hu Pingtung. He was a passenger. We saw that happen to Lebanon in the sprint race, but this time, well, Daniel Murad's getting out of the car, but that was, we don't know what happened. We'll have to have a replay of that, but he looked like he lost virtually no speed whatsoever, and safety car for the second time today has been deployed.
What did he do?
Oh, and again, back end of the car, under braking, and the car's just, I mean, well, in fact, the impact's been, it was the way the car spun around after impact that looked more nasty. Again,
there's a puddle on the outside there too.
And that's what caught out Murad. We saw and he just simply slammed into the damage to both cars. Very heavy indeed, and of course bouncing over the gravel trap. And I mean, that's a 60-mile-an-hour impact into the tower wall, and China taking out innocent party and all that. So once again, safety car has been deployed with just 4.5 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining.
And I'll tell you what threw us there in that replay was we saw Brazil, and that's because Brazil have joined into this race well through it.
I mean, I was thinking, is that the Brazil car? Can't be there, not in the race. But Brazil have joined in. They're 3 laps down. We haven't seen anything about it all during this event.
They're not 3 laps down, John. They're 32 laps down, I think, at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm looking at, yes. The interval, 32 laps down. They're 32 laps down, 3 laps down in the Swiss car, which of course retired from the race way earlier.
Yeah, so Brazil have joined in the fun and games, and they actually, at this rate, they might score some points. Monaco, at the end of the pit lane under red light, because the safety car's out at the moment, they've come in, presumably, to make their second stop for tyre change, and now they're being held on a red light because we're under safety car.
Yeah, and he's going to have to sit there probably for the best part of 3 minutes while the safety car makes its way around there, Hu Pingtung. And that was, I mean, he didn't even know what had happened. He just suddenly hit. When I called the Lebanon car in the sprint race an unguided missile, well, literally in the feature race, that's what it was. And there's not a straight corner remaining in that car. And bodywork damage, the nose, probably the rear wing, and goodness knows what damage done to the underbody of the car as well. So Lebanon, who promised so much the potential to get a good point score in the feature race, now going to go home with 0.
I don't know. They might get points out of this race still, because looking at the number of cars that have gone out of this race, I'm not sure that Lebanon might actually still end up scoring some points here today, despite now being out of the race.
Well, what a way to score your points.
Yeah.
What a way to score your points.
Standing by the side of the road. Well, let's wait and see what happens. But with under 3 minutes to go, plus a lap, you know, safety cars out there. I wonder if the race will even get under race conditions again.
I suspect that the race, in fact, I mean, the safety car is sitting in the pit lane waiting for as the Lebanon car being craned away. Look at the damage to the side of the car, radiators and all the electronics that are attached to the side of the monocoque. So the safety car is actually sitting, waiting here for the lead car to come down. There's the lead car coming now. And once again, Monaco's going to have to wait until the entire chain of cars goes past before he'll be released.
Yeah, in fact, they picked up Korea. Well, they have to, really, because Korea are only just ahead of Team France, which is the race leader. There is the race leader, Loic Duval, who's driven superbly. I remember we were commentating on it, actually, John. I was just about to talk about Olivier Panis, because he took his one and only Grand Prix win in very wet conditions in Monaco. We were there that day. He, of course, is nowadays on the pit wall for A1 Team France, isn't he?
And he's actually got an active role. He's in first thing in the morning, and he's there until the end of the day. He's not sort of swanning in like ex-Grand Prix drivers are prone to do. He's actually got an active role and assisting with the driver. Truthfully, it's not that Loic Duval needs an awful lot of that, but when France decide to run their rookie, and that'll be Nicolas Prost, then the experience and expertise of Olivier Panis should give Nicolas Prost some more advantage.
Well, it was pretty wet that day at Monaco when he took a victory. Loic Duval has already had a win in A1GP. This isn't going to be his first, but I tell you what, it's been mighty impressive. But don't forget, if we were to go racing again, which I think is a bit unlikely, Malaysia are now going to be right on the tail of Team France. So I suppose we better wait and see with this one. Let's not count our chickens and all that, because if the race does restart, you might get a bit of a dice between France and Malaysia, with New Zealand up there in third. And once again, what can we say about this young man, El Bamba? Just taking another look at this incident, it is frightening. He just loses the back end of the car. I'm sure it aquaplaned slightly.
Oh, and look at China's cars that went backwards.
Yeah.
They'd almost got over, went the car over the top, but it's the water standing. I mean, he hit the back of the China car in a spin, and again, when I say 60 miles an hour, maybe it was more than that. But the back of the China car slammed by Lebanon, I mean, just forced China all the way up. It's quite a deep gravel trap at the Tars on Hairpin.
So, oh dear, these guys are going to have an awful lot of work to do to get the cars back in one piece. They've worked so hard to get all these cars here this weekend.
Do you think anybody's brave enough to bring the safety car in as the time, it's almost under, well, it is under half a minute of this race remaining. So do you think the safety car would be brought in and let this last lap go back under green flag racing?
I don't know, we've seen it.
I'll tell you, North America,
yeah,
no doubt.
I was going to say, I've seen it many times in the States.
Absolutely, this is what the public come to see. This is what the television tune in. Jack Cunningham, seat holder for Malaysia, he's sitting there wondering maybe the same thing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So there's one lap of this race remaining. The lights are remaining on, but will they be switched off at the last moment and dive into the pits, or will this race be finished under a safety car?
They're going to come across the line now, and presumably it'll be one lap under safety car because he's not come in, John. So presumably this race is going to therefore end under safety car. We've sort of just run out of time at the end to be able to give them a run to the checkered flag, and that means surely that Team France have taken victory here at the first feature race of season 4 under amazingly difficult conditions. Loic Duval has survived where many others have not, and I don't ever remember seeing him actually put a wheel wrong. He's been so impressive out there. Great drive also from Faraz Fawzi, sitting there in second place. These two really dominating certain parts of the race, and then in third place it's going to be Earl Bamber for New Zealand. John, you've just got to congratulate any guys who made it to the end. It was so tough out there today.
Well, there's been some outstanding driving, mainly at the front, and there's been some driving which has been, let's say, inexperience on the part of those drivers. I mean, most difficult conditions, and because you've got changeable conditions in that one lap, you've got a track that's sort of half drivable, but you come round a lap further. I mean, I didn't see any of that standing water as you come onto the braking zone into the Tars on Hairpin. It caught out the Brazil car, and then just simply Lebanon and Daniel Marad charged down in. I mean, he is a charger. We know that. He got caught and then simply just swiped the rear of the China car. But this man, Loic Duval, has really been a star here this weekend. Only got the car on Saturday morning and has won the feature race.
Yeah, that is amazing. First time he drove the car was in qualifying, and he's managed to do it. Well, the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap, but the checkered flag will be displayed at the same time. So presumably that's it, all over effectively, unless they have a little drag race to the line. I suppose that's always possible, and certainly you could see Duval is not backing off yet. He's keeping his focus and his concentration.
No, he's absolutely right, because one little error we saw Adam Carroll did at the start of the sprint race by just being a little bit too eager on the throttle pedal, and Faraz Fawzi is right on the gearbox. The remains of the field are being backed up by France. Loic Duval's going to wait until he gets out of turn 14, then he's going to take advantage of leading this pack, get on the throttle, get the drive. There it is. I mean, even I could work it out.
Yeah, great stuff from him. Oh, he's backed it off a bit again. He's backed it off a bit. He's not gone yet. But be careful doing that. Now he goes, and it's a drag race to the line for the victory here at Zandvoort in the feature race. He's absolutely flat out already through Harry Lyndike corner. Are we going to see any place changes on this final lap? Let's see as they come across the line. France wins in the wet at Zandvoort. The first feature race of season 4 taken by France. Second goes to Malaysia. New Zealand is third. Australia finishes fourth. The Netherlands takes fifth, and it's going to be Monaco who finish in sixth position, with Lebanon, I am sure, still taking their first points in A1GP despite being out of the race. But France have done it. They've taken the victory. Malaysia, though, are now leading the championship, courtesy of a win earlier on and second place in this one.
Well, I mean, a superb drive by Loic Duval. All you can say is that was a masterclass in driving in the rain. He showed us some of his techniques very clearly. He managed to steer clear of some of the very deep puddles, and that puddle at the end of the straight, I just saw it on the cars as they came through. It really is a deep puddle. Eric Boulet for France, he is so happy once again to be leading a team that really had a drought all the way through the third series until they won that race in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. It's the second win for Loic Duval. It's the 15th win for Team France. Let's get down to the pits and hear from the team.
Olivier, congratulations. Loic didn't get in the car until qualifying, and now a victory.
Yeah, well, I mean, we need to say really well done to him. I mean, on this condition, what he can do for all day long was fantastic. I mean, the team doing well because we just received the car yesterday morning and it just did 6 laps yesterday. I think well done to the team, really for the French team, and well done to Loic too because he did really well.
You won a race in atrocious conditions in Monaco in 1998. It compares to this, doesn't it?
Well, for sure, is when this condition is what hard. I mean, you see the very good driver, and I think Loic proved is quite really good today.
Thank you very much, Olivier.
It's worse outside of the car, he says.
Jean-Paul Drieux there, the man behind the engineering side of things for Team France, and what a day it has turned out to be. You know, Nicolas Lapierre had a chance of winning here at Zandvoort a couple of years ago, and then they had a problem in the pits, and then a gearbox problem that stymied their charge. Lapierre and Alexander Premat were the two dominant drivers of that first season of A1GP in the French car, but it's Loic Duval who's managed to achieve something special here today, to win in absolutely atrocious conditions, bring the car home safely, ahead of Team Malaysia, New Zealand in third, and Australia. What a result for Australia too, in fourth place. Let's listen to some team radio.
Okay, Loic, well done, well done, well done.
Yeah, well, that was the congratulations to Loic as he crossed the line there, having taken the win. Just to mention, though, as I say, Australia, a very important fourth place finish there for John Martin for Team Australia. And when you consider what a horrible time they had on Saturday, you just have to say well done to John Martin. Looking further down the list of results, Netherlands in 5th, Monaco in 6th, so they have scored points here today. Korea scored points as well, as Loic Duval gets out of his machine and celebrates. So Korea have scored points, and Lebanon have been classified 8th according to our timing list. So Lebanon have scored points for the first time ever. But look at this, new championships leaders are Malaysia, race winners in the feature are Team France, and third place in that race, plus second position in the first race of the day, Team New Zealand. Well, they're going to be right up there. There's Earl Bamber, and I tell you what, he has been the surprise of the day in so many ways. How has a young man who only turned 18 in July got the maturity to deal with these conditions in a 600 brake horsepower single-seater car? I am absolutely flummoxed by that, because Earl Bamber has done an outstanding job for New Zealand, and the Kiwis should be very proud that they found yet another exciting talent here. He's being weighed as the part of the scrutineering after the race, but what a performance from him today. He's finished in third behind two very experienced drivers in Loic Duval and Fares Fawzi. The result then, France winning from Malaysia and New Zealand, Australia in a fine fourth place, Netherlands in 5th, Monaco in 6th. Points for Korea on their debut because they managed to make it to the end of the race. Lebanon crashed out with China, and yet both have scored points because so many other cars went out. And Charlie Kimball does get 1 point for USA in the second race. He also scored a point in the first race of the day, so he's got something to go back to California with. 11th for Portugal, 12th for Indonesia, then South Africa, followed by Italy, Brazil, Ireland and Switzerland, and the fastest lap did go to the USA. Well, what a day we've had here, and in those sort of conditions, but still the fans have had something to watch, no doubt about it. Let's get back down to the pit lane for more reaction.
Clivio, well done, first points for Monaco.
Yeah, I'm pleased. I mean, it was very difficult condition, and to finish the race any place was a win, I think.
The first thing you said going out of the car was that it was terrible out there.
It was very wet, the wind was blowing hard, and we had some flooded parts, so it was very tricky, and the car was aquaplaning in some points, so lucky it finished.
Thank you.
Well, he has finished. He's finished in 6th place, and that's a good effort for a brand new team. Look at the garage there. They've got the Monaco on the side panels there inside the garage, and they are proudly representing their nation, as of course all the drivers for their respective nations are in A1GP. But I have to say, there's an awful lot of damaged cars to be repaired. These teams have worked so hard to get the cars here to Zandvoort. Well, they're going to have to work equally hard between now and round 2 in Chengdu. The good thing is that they've got about a month, but I say that, in fact they haven't, because the cars will of course be shipped out there, and they'll be taken off the teams and transported across the world, so they won't actually have a great deal of opportunity to make some of the repairs that are needed, and it might actually mean that it's a very late night again tonight for a lot of those guys who've had very little sleep over the last week or so. Now, I said Malaysia was leading the points. In fact, bearing in mind the extra bonus points, look at that. We've got a tie for the lead between Malaysia and France. So what a great situation to be in. Of course, France got the fastest lap earlier on today, so that's the extra point that they've gained, and that means that there is a tie at the top of the table between Team France and Team Malaysia. Loic Duval up onto the top step of the podium. Second time he's achieved that in his career in A1GP. Joint series leaders there for Team Malaysia, having a victory earlier today and now a fine second place, and a stunning A1GP debut today for Earl Bamber of Team New Zealand. Time for the presentations then, and the face on the right might be less familiar perhaps to followers of A1GP and other international motorsport, but what a talent New Zealand have found again. And it's not the only one, because they've also got waiting in the wings Chris van der Drift, who tested the car and busy wrapping up the championship himself this weekend. And New Zealand have these new young drivers with a lot to prove, but also they have already shown that they are going to be major contenders once again. We know how good the car is. We've seen that over recent years. And they desperately want to try and win this title. They've finished runner-up the last couple of years. Well, it's a tall order to ask their new young drivers to perhaps try and take the title, but that's a great start. And Faraz Fauzi, he picks up a silver medal to go with the gold medal that he won earlier on today. And that is very much his best ever weekend. But Malaysia have had the double win one weekend. That was in Brno a couple of years ago in the Czech Republic for Alex Young, but they've almost matched that here today with a win and a second place. But Loic Duval, who sat and drove the car for the first time in qualifying just yesterday, has come through to take a third place in the sprint race, and now he takes the gold medal. Presented his trophy by the Dutch Prime Minister. And what a perfect start to the season for him. Olivier Panis, the rest of the crew congratulates him. We've heard it many times before in A1GP, on their way to winning those 14 races that they have had over the 3 and a bit years now of the series. But that's win number 15, and a very, very well-earned victory it was too. Champagne time, and Earl Bamber's going to take a little swig of that, and he fully deserves it after his stylish performance here today. Made no mistakes, and there was certainly plenty of opportunity to make mistakes. On the puddles, on the restarts, in battles, fought his way with a battle with the Netherlands.